What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name is Jeff. Now, this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. That sounds interesting? Hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, why don't we jump into a review? Today, we're looking at the Aberlour whiskey. So we're looking at an Aberlour today. This is going to be the Casg Annamh. I don't know how to say it. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. Listen, with all due respect to Gaelic culture and language, I hate just all of your words. Anyway, Aberlour, this is a brand that I like, but kind of don't like at the same time. Obviously, they're well known for their sherried whiskeys. They do sherry very well, but it's another one of those wasted potential situations that are all too common in whiskey. I don't know why, but for the life of them, these big brand Speyside distilleries do not want to give us craft presentation, and that's a real shame because a lot of them make really good whiskey. You have stuff like Glenlivet, you have Macallan, you have Glenfiddich, even Balvenie to a certain extent. And it's not just the big boys, some of the smaller distilleries too. You have stuff like Tomintoul, you have stuff like Glenmoray. There's just a bunch of distilleries running around with a core range of mostly 40% whiskeys. I guess 43% if they really want to spoil us, and Aberlour is one of the worst ones. And unless you're buying their cask strength Abana expression, you're probably getting a 40% whiskey, 43% on a good day. And you know, Aberlour is a big seller. It's a respected brand. They make great sherried whiskeys, but I just don't buy much from them. I keep up with the Abanas from time to time, and that's about it. Anyway, onto our cask here. This is a relatively new expression. It came out back in 2018, and I remember the first time I came across this one at the shop, I was just thinking, another no-age stated Aberlour. I wasn't especially interested in it at the time, but I did take note that we have a slightly higher ABV on this one, which of course is a step in the right direction. A couple years went by and I still didn't pick this stuff up, mostly just because I didn't have any warm fuzzy feelings towards Aberlour. I've explained why, and I really didn't expect much from this stuff, even though a lot of the reviews for it were, I'd say, mixed or positive. I guess I always figured I'd get around to it eventually, and I finally did earlier this year, so I'm about 3 years late to the party on this one. This is a batch release. I got my hands on an older one, so we're looking at batch 2 today. You can tell because we have the older Aberlour label here. I believe now we're at batch 5. Anyway, I recently put this one in a list video, and I said some pretty flattering things about it, and seems a couple of you out there were kind of curious to hear about this one, and I figured now's as good of a time as any. Not only that, my bottle is getting a little bit low. So yeah, why don't we hop into a review of this one, see what our whiskey is all about, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Unlike most Aberlours, we do have a healthy ABV on this one. It comes in at 48%. It's going to be a non-chill filtered expression. Unfortunately, it is colored, so we've only got 2 out of 3 here, but to be fair, that is pretty impressive for Aberlour. I mean, the bar's set pretty low for these guys. So we've got our unnatural color here. This is the old style Aberlour label, which I like. I've always been a fan of these bottles. I think they look great. I like the nice squat look to them. Nothing fancy, nothing over the top about this. I think it's got kind of like a low-key kind of stylish look to it. A little bit modern, a little bit old school. Presentation is going to be 4 out of 5. Of course, they're not going to brag about being colored, but they do mention that they're non-chill filtered right here, which is nice. We have our batch number here. Our name apparently means rare cask in Gaelic. And speaking of casks, they do mention what casks were used to mature this in. Apparently, it was a mix of European sherry oak and 2 different types of American oak. Overall, I think it's got a good look. I think we've got some decent info here, and there's not too much noise to it. So overall, solid presentation. Let's try our nose. Spicy. Okay, so it's a nice hit of peppery oak spice to start us off, and then you get into these robust sherry notes underneath. Plum, chili, light caramel, apple vinegar, red wine tannins, cinnamon. You have a cherry note in here, but it's not a sweet cherry. It's like a bitter cherry note. And potato shochu, which is a kind of Japanese alcohol. Very interesting. Now the palate. Okay. Nothing special about the mouthfeel. Again, this is very spicy. You get a big hit of oak spice, big hit of baking spices, just big spices in general here. Tannins, red apple skins, cinnamon, water chestnuts. We've got some Christmas cake notes in here. We have some rum balls and some mocha. Now our finish. Okay, this is my favorite part. Full, round. We're definitely getting the European oak casks to work here. This is a dark, complex sherry, still spicy, some red wine tannins here, raisins, menthol, oak spice, underripe peaches, some plums in here. This is a medium to long finish, and it's quite drying. So if you guys watched my recent video about batch released whiskeys, you'll know I placed this one near the top, so it shouldn't come as a surprise to a lot of you out there that I actually really like this one. I think this is precisely the kind of shot in the arm that Aberlour needed for its core range. I mean, I'd love to have an age statement with it too, but I guess I'm getting greedy. This is gonna have to do. Yeah, listen, this is good. This is nice. This is different. It's not too dark, but it does have some tannins. It's not too young, but it does have some spices. We have a nice edge to this whiskey. Not especially complex, but there is stuff happening here. I like that our sherry goes more spicy than it does sweet. There's also some really nice bitter and drying elements in here. So yeah, really cool stuff. Very different from our Annamh, which is still a very good whiskey, always has been, but it's not quite what it used to be. Anyway, with this one thrown in the mix, I actually have a better feeling about the brand overall, just because I finally have another Aberlour that I can turn to that isn't the Annamh. And to be honest, I'll probably be coming back to this one more often than the Annamh. I said in my list video that I like this better than the Annamh, and I do stand by that. This is a tannic, spicy whiskey thanks to those European oak casks, and by contrast, the Annamh is going to be, of course, much punchier with that ABV, but it's also sweeter and more obvious. I think this one just shows us a different side of Aberlour. It's not something that we get from the rest of the range. Now, I recently reviewed the 18 on this channel as well, and the 18 is a very sophisticated whiskey, but it's also very restrained, almost to a fault. And while it's technically perfect, there's no edge, there's nothing challenging, and I like a bit of challenge in my whiskey. I like that this one has a bigger, bolder character than the 18. It's also got a few more rougher edges, but those rougher edges just add to that character. They make it more exciting to drink. And I know it sounds like I'm trash talking the 18 and the Annamh. I'm totally not. They're both really good whiskeys. I just like this one better. I like that it's a cheaper whiskey that offers us a more interesting style of sherry. That being said, I think there's still going to be a lot of you out there that gravitate towards the Annamh. And if you're just looking for that full-blown sherry bomb hit, of course, Annamh is still going to be your best bet. Even I usually prefer the higher ABV whiskey, so I'm a bit surprised that I'm getting behind this one over the Annamh, but I just find it comes together in a more interesting and creative way. So kudos to Aberlour for giving us something less engineered with this one. We've got some great characters, some bold flavors, high reachability on this too. This bottle has not lasted long on my shelf. It's one I come back to pretty often. So my score here is going to be 88. I really like this one. As I said earlier, I didn't expect much going into this bottle, but I was pleasantly surprised. This whiskey delivers in a way that nothing else from this brand really does. So yeah, I'm really impressed. We have some great spices in here, some robust sherry, and it's unique. It's also one of those weird whiskeys that, at least in my opinion, works equally well both with or without water, so be aware of that. But yeah, just a standout Aberlour. This is much less tame, much less boring than their usual fare. Obviously, I'm singing this one's praises quite a lot, but I don't think this whiskey is going to be for everyone. It might not be for you. This isn't as accessible or as sweet or as easy as some other Aberlours out there. This one is for those of you who are looking for a bit of spice or a bit of kick in your whiskey. Great value on this one. I gotta say, it's always fun when you happen to prefer the cheaper stuff. This is going to be cheaper than the Annamh and the 18 in most markets, although I've heard in some places they cost about the same. Regardless, I like this more and I pay less for it, so it's great news for me. Now, I'm sure some of these older batches will shoot up in price over time, such as the nature of batch released whiskeys, but I've tried a couple batches of this so far and I like them both equally, so I would just say grab whatever you happen to come across. Really great stuff. Definitely wanted to check out. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. Now, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Casg Annamh? Whatever. Which batch did you try? How did you feel about it? Finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.